When the whole family comes together to watch the game, nobody wants to miss a second of the action to run to the grocery store. With Instacart, you can get all your weekly groceries in as fast as an hour. Less time shopping means more game time. Let's go. Visit instacart.com to get free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. $10 minimum per order. Additional terms apply.
Barry Tramel with us from selloutcrowd.com. You can read his work, most of it about, of course, the University of Oklahoma and Oklahoma sports. Barry, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing great. How's Wichita today?
Oh, we're about probably the same as Norman and Oklahoma City. We kind of have that in common, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty chilly here today.
Yeah. Well, let's start with the Thunder, because if they weren't being taken seriously before Tuesday night with the Boston Celtics coming to town, they certainly are now, because that game had the feel of better times and bigger things to come.
Yeah, it was a special night in the building. Harken back to the old days of Kevin Durant and Westbrook when the Thunder had one of the best NBA teams, and the Thunder certainly answered the bell. They really should have had everyone's attention before that. The Nuggets have lost 3 times at home this season. 2 of those losses have been to the Thunder. So, the last 2 or 3 weeks, the Thunder has been announcing its presence and on the national stage, and it certainly did so again Tuesday night. Great game, and things are just looking so great for Oklahoma City. We thought they would be a playoff team. Well, they're more than a playoff team. They're making noise like they are a contender, one of the NBA's best teams.
I'm interested in that phrase, the national stage, because while Denver won the NBA championship last year, they're not necessarily a media darling. The Nuggets, Minnesota is up there, I think still the top seed in the West. They're not media darlings. Oklahoma City is not that yet. They perhaps were when Durant and Westbrook were there. So do you think that grouping has really caught on and nationally, and Oklahoma City in particular?
Yeah, well, no, I'd say it's possible the Thunder's just the latest hot thing. 3-game losing streak would end that. But, my inbox been filled with national stuff on the Thunder in the last 2 days. The Athletic is just going on and on and on about the Thunder. Bill Simmons of the Ringer ranked the Thunder number 1 in his team rankings this week. So people are jumping on the board quick, and they're an easy team to cheer for. I mean, young. So far, they haven't developed an attitude. Really good storylines when you look at the ascension of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the incredible rookie year of Chet Holmgren, who appears to be at least in the lead for Rookie of the Year when Victor Wembanyama is making his debut. So lots to like about this Thunder team. Playing great defense, playing great offense. They look like they're in it for the long haul.
Just curious, you were talking about Westbrook and Durant, and obviously Harden was there, and when they were very good, those guys were young and then had a little bit of a lull there. Was there any sense of panic from the organization? Did they know they just had to wait, rebuild a little bit, make some time? And then how were the fans and the supporters around Oklahoma City during that period? And then all of a sudden, this year, Oklahoma City is looking fantastic.
Well, I mean, people in Oklahoma got tired of the losing quickly. They were ready to go all in on whatever all in means. But the truth of the matter is Oklahoma City played 1.5 seasons of bad basketball. They traded away when they traded away Westbrook a few days after they traded Paul George in the summer of 19. They traded Jeremy Grant to Denver. You thought the tanking had begun, but what we didn't know was that Chris Paul still had a lot left in his tank, and Dennis Schroeder and SGA and that crew put together a really good 2020 team. That was the year COVID hit. They still made the playoffs down in the NBA bubble. went to Game 7 with the Rockets, and then it looked like they were starting to tank. They traded Chris Paul for not a whole lot. They traded Dennis Schroeder. They really tore the team down. And yet they were still pretty good. They were 19-24. They were at least competitive. When they shut down SGA, he was hurt. They shut him down. They shut down Al Horford, and they went all in on tanking. And for the next year and a half, lots of losing. The arena became sort of a dreary place because nobody wants to see browbeating losses. But the truth is, 1.5 seasons of rebuilding is not much in the NBA. We could go out to Charlotte. We could go to Minnesota. We could go to Sacramento. We could go to Salt Lake. Go to all those places and say, hey, what's a long stretch of losing look like? And it's a lot more than a year and a half. So last year, fun, competitive team again, make the play-in tournament. This year, of course, contending for the number 1 seed. So Oklahoma City fans are spoiled, no doubt about it. We really don't know what sustained losing looks like.
Barry Tramel, our guest, his work available to you, selloutcrowd.com. So talk to us a little bit about the Oklahoma City Thunder coach, Mark Daigneault. He's been there a little bit, but certainly not the name that rolls off the tongue or that every NBA fan knows about, I would guess. What's made him successful?
Well, he's incredibly smart. His strategic acumen is fabulous. I don't know if anybody watched the game last night. They got beat all night long, should have lost by 15 or 20. Somehow climbed back in it, down 13 with 3 minutes left, I think it was, and somehow got the ball with 2.8 seconds or 2.6, whatever it was, down 3, and he's able to draw up a great play. Atlanta doesn't have to guard anything except the three-point line, and he still gets Isaiah Joe, who's a great three-point shooter, gets him an open shot before the buzzer. It hit the rim. They don't all go in, but it was remarkable. His plays out of timeouts are just phenomenal. He's a good communicator. He's not doesn't have a big ego. He gets along with the players. So he's so anonymous. Nobody in Oklahoma City even knew who he was when he got the head coaching job. People nationally didn't know who he was. He played basketball. He was on the basketball team at Connecticut as a student, as a manager. Then he goes to Florida and spends a lot of time on Billy Donovan's staff, not as a head coach. I mean, as an assistant coach, but as one of those analysts or managers or just one of those guys hanging around. Sam Presti just sort of discovers him while he's scouting. They develop a relationship. He brings Daigneault to town to coach the G League team. And Daigneault has said, you know what, I wasn't qualified for that. I didn't have any business doing it. Coaches the G League team for 3 or 4 years, gets a job on Billy Donovan's staff. Billy takes off for Chicago, and the Thunder hires Mark Daigneault. Nobody even knew what he looked like or how to spell his name. And he's just been a home run hire. So credit Sam Presti for having the foresight to recognize a quality coach in the making.
So I'm curious, Barry, about Oklahoma City has a superstar in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Chet Holmgren might become that, but focusing on SGA for a second, what does he think of Oklahoma City? You see so many star-level and superstar-level players who ultimately want to get to L.A. or Miami or New York or playing in Brooklyn. I guess that's New York too. But does he like Oklahoma City? Does he see that as a long-term play for him?
Well, I'm skeptical of any of that. So I never answer. I don't know what's inside anybody's head.
Yeah.
And my fallback position is all these guys would probably rather play somewhere else. Not anywhere else, but somewhere else. However, it's a great situation in Oklahoma City. He's getting the max. He's sort of like Westbrook, he's becoming an international fashion maven, even though he's in Oklahoma City. He's got a great roster around him that's going to get better and better and better. So for now, I think it's a perfect spot for SGA. 3 years from now, 4 years from now, who knows? I thought Kevin Durant was an Oklahoma City lifer, and I learned my lesson, so I won't fall in that trap anymore. I think the day will come when SGA is playing elsewhere. But for now, this is the perfect spot for him.
Final moments here with the Barry Tramel, selloutcrowd.com, longtime sports columnist in the state of Oklahoma. So I want to ask you about OU football and then basketball. Has Brent Venables kind of calmed the waters as they head to the SEC? Are people feeling like Oklahoma's going to be just fine and become a contender in that conference and be in the discussion for the playoffs most years? Do people feel that way around OU? And then is Porter Moser and this basketball team, which has lost only once, ranked 11th in the country, they go into Big 12 conference play this weekend against Iowa State. How real is that? There's a couple questions for you to gnaw on, Barry.
Okay, Brent Venables. I think he has settled the waters. I think people are more optimistic than perhaps they were a year ago for two reasons. They had a much better team. Now they had a very easy schedule, but they go 10-2 in the regular season. Lost a couple of games right at the wire. The road games against Kansas and Oklahoma State, two pretty good teams. Beat Texas. That's always a good way to endear yourself to Oklahomans. So had a good year, and since then the portal losses, particularly on defense, have been virtually zilch. So he's bringing back a bunch of good, not just the portal, but the NFL draft early entries. He's bringing back virtually every defender that he could. So lots of optimism about the OU defense. The OU offense probably going to be a struggle for a while. New quarterback Jackson Arnold's got a great prospect, but the offensive line's having to be rebuilt. So I think the optimism is back in fairly high regard for Brent Venables. The SEC is not the saber-tooth conference it was a couple of years ago. We saw in September, hey, the SEC is a little struggling. We see in the postseason, SEC did not dominate. So I'm not sure if OU can make the SEC championship game next season, but I do think they'll have a good team and have a chance to compete to finish in the top two. So I think the optimism's pretty high. When you look at basketball, this team came out of nowhere, a bunch of new guys, a couple of holdovers from the mediocre team of last season. But Porter Moser's done a very good job. They've had a lot of good wins. They beat USC, they beat Iowa, they beat Providence. They went to North Carolina and lost to the Tar Heels, but that's forgivable. So I don't think they're a Big 12 title contender, but I do think they're going to make the NCAA tournament, and that's a big step for Porter. So I like this team pretty good. It's going to get beat up inside quite a bit, but if you can't do that, you'll have trouble beating the Sooners.
Well, we always appreciate it. We like to get that Oklahoma perspective. Of course, we have a lot of OU fans and Thunder fans here in Wichita. Barry Tramel has been with us. Barry, thank you.
Good to talk to you, Bob. See you guys later.
I'm Glennon Doyle, author of Untamed and host of the podcast We Can Do Hard Things. On We Can Do Hard Things, my wife Abby, my sister Amanda, and I talk honestly about the hard parts of life. Join us and guests like Michelle Obama, Tracy Ellis Ross, and Brene Brown as we have refreshingly honest conversations. New episodes are out every Tuesday and Thursday, so listen to and follow We Can Do Hard Things, an Odyssey podcast, available now for free on the Odyssey app and everywhere you get your podcasts.